7,220 feet above sea level, there is a stadium where visiting teams go to suffer. The air is thin, the crowd is deafening, and the home team has never lost a World Cup match there. Not once. Not in 60 years. This weekend, England is going to walk into that stadium with their entire World Cup on the line. Standing across from them, a Mexico side that has won every single game they have played at this tournament. A Mexico side that has not conceded a single goal in this building. A Mexico side backed by 90,000 fans who have waited 40 years for this exact moment. And England? England have only a few days to prepare for conditions that sports scientists say take 2 weeks to adapt to. In this video, we will look at the brutal science of what happens to the human body at 7,000 feet, and why England's own manager has admitted his team physically cannot adapt in time. We will dig into the terrifying history of the Estadio Azteca, a fortress where Mexico has lost only twice in nearly 90 matches across 6 decades. We will revisit the ghosts of 1986, when England last played in this stadium and walked out as victims of the most controversial goal in football history. And by the end, we will answer the question everyone is asking. Can England actually win this game? Because here's the thing. The answer is not as simple as you might think. There is one factor, one tactical reality that could flip this entire match on its head. And it has nothing to do with altitude. And that uncertainty is exactly what makes this matchup so interesting. Because when a game can swing on one tactical detail, one mistake, or one moment of chaos, it is not just a football question anymore, it becomes a question of probability. This episode is sponsored by Kalshi, the largest prediction market in the United States. Here's what makes Kalshi different. You are not playing against a house. Kalshi is peer-to-peer trading. You buy a yes or no contract on whether something will happen, and you're trading directly against other users. Think of it like buying or selling a stock. The line isn't set by some algorithm working against you. It moves based on where the money goes. Public opinion sets the price. Right now, England winning against Mexico is trading at this probability, meaning a $100 trade pays out this amount with a correct prediction. And as that probability shifts, you can buy in or out of your position at any time to lock in a profit or cut a loss. Kalshi is CFTC approved, federally regulated, which is why it's available all across the country, including California and Texas. Download the Kalshi app and use code BIOS to get $10 when you trade $10. K-A-L-S-H-I. Kalshi. Trade what's next. The Estadio Azteca opened in 1966, carved into the volcanic rock of southern Mexico City. From the day it opened, it was designed to intimidate. The stands rise steep and high, trapping the noise and funneling it straight down onto the pitch. When it is full, and on Sunday it will be beyond full, the sound does not wash over you. It presses down on you. Players who have performed here describe the experience as unlike anywhere else in world football. The whistles when opponents touch the ball. The roar that arrives a fraction before the game does. The feeling from the very first minute that the building itself wants you to lose. Freshly renovated for this tournament, it remains one of the largest and loudest venues in the sport. This is the only stadium on Earth that has hosted 2 World Cup finals. In 1970, Pelé and the greatest Brazil team ever assembled lifted the trophy here after dismantling Italy 4-1, a performance so complete that people still argue no team has ever played better. In 1986, Diego Maradona dragged Argentina to glory on this same pitch. And this summer, the Azteca made history again, becoming the first stadium ever to host matches at 3 separate World Cups, when Mexico kicked off the entire 2026 tournament here on opening night. The Azteca has hosted the match many call the game of the century, that delirious 1970 semifinal between Italy and West Germany that finished 4-3. It hosted the hand of God. It hosted the goal of the century. If football has a cathedral, this is it. And for Mexico, it is something more. It is home in the deepest sense of the word. The numbers are almost hard to believe. Across all competitions, Mexico has played nearly 90 matches at the Azteca and lost only twice. 70 wins, 17 draws, 2 defeats in 6 decades. In World Cup matches specifically, spanning the 1970 tournament, the 1986 tournament, and now 2026, Mexico's record at the Azteca is 10 games, 7 wins, 3 draws, and 0 losses. 0. Read that again. In the entire history of the World Cup, no team has ever beaten Mexico in this stadium. And at this tournament, El Tri has made the fortress even more imposing. Mexico has played 3 of their 4 matches at the Azteca so far, and they have not conceded a single goal in the building. Not one. South Africa came here on opening night and lost 2-0. Czechia came here and got taken apart 3-0. Ecuador arrived in the round of 32, full of confidence, organized, disciplined. They lost 2-0 and barely created a chance. So that is the stage. A stadium where the visiting team has never won a World Cup match, packed with a crowd that has waited 2 generations for a night like this. But the crowd is not even the biggest problem. It is in the AIR itself. Mexico City sits at roughly 2,240 meters above sea level, 7,220 feet. To put that in perspective, that is higher than many ski resorts in the ALPS. It is nearly 1.5 miles into the sky. And at that elevation, the air is fundamentally different from the air at sea level. The atmospheric pressure drops. And when the pressure drops, every single breath delivers less oxygen to your bloodstream. According to performance specialists, oxygen intake at the Azteca's elevation can fall by more than 7% until the body has had time to acclimatize. 7% might not sound like much, but for an elite athlete operating at the absolute limit of human performance, it is enormous. Think about what a modern footballer actually does for 90 minutes. Repeated sprints, constant pressing, high-speed recovery runs, all of it fueled by oxygen. Take that oxygen away and everything degrades. Sprint recovery slows down, the legs get heavy earlier. Decision-making suffers because the brain is an oxygen-hungry organ too. The actions that decide football matches, the explosive burst to reach a through ball, the 60-yard recovery sprint to stop a counter, the sharpness to make the right choice in the final third in the 90th minute, all of them become harder. Much harder. And here is the truly cruel part. There is essentially nothing England can do about it. Sports scientists generally agree that proper altitude acclimatization takes at least 2 weeks. Olympic athletes preparing for competition at elevation will spend a month or more training in the mountains, letting their bodies slowly produce more red blood cells to compensate for the thinner air. That is the whole trick of altitude adaptation. Your body senses the oxygen shortage and responds by manufacturing more of the cells that carry oxygen through your blood. But that process is slow. Painfully slow. It cannot be rushed, it cannot be faked, and it cannot be compressed into a long weekend. England has 4 days between beating DR Congo in Atlanta and kicking off at the Azteca. 4 days. And the thin air does not just attack the players, it changes the ball. At 7,000 feet, the air is less dense, which means there is less drag on the ball in flight. Shots fly faster, crosses carry further. Long passes that would drop perfectly at sea level sail over their target. Free kicks swerve less because the thinner air gives the ball less to grip. Goalkeepers who have spent their entire careers reading flight paths at sea level suddenly find that everything arrives half a second earlier than their instincts expect. Jordan Pickford will have exactly 1 training session at the Azteca to recalibrate a lifetime of muscle memory. Mexico's players have been striking and saving balls in this air since they were children. Every long-range effort, every deep cross, every driven set piece on Sunday will behave in a way that favors the team that grew up here. Worse still, there is a window that scientists call the dead zone. Roughly 3 to 9 days after arriving at high altitude, the body goes through its most miserable period of adjustment. Fatigue spikes, sleep falls apart, breathing feels labored, performance craters. Arrive too early, and you play your match right in the middle of that physiological valley. So England's medical staff has made a calculated gamble. The fly-in, fly-out approach, Stay at their base in Kansas City for as long as possible, fly into Mexico City on Friday afternoon, roughly 48 hours before kickoff, play the match before the worst symptoms of altitude exposure set in, and get out. It is the same strategy the English Football Association has used for high-altitude fixtures for years. Get in, play, get out, before the body fully realizes what is happening to it. They could not arrive any later even if they wanted to. FIFA regulations require every team to train at the match stadium the day before the game. So Saturday, England will be on the Azteca pitch, breathing that thin air, feeling their lungs work harder than they have all tournament. Thomas Tuchel has not sugarcoated any of this. In his press conference after the DR Congo match, the England manager was asked directly about the altitude, and his answer was blunt. His understanding, he said, was that his team simply cannot adapt to it. It takes too much time, and they only have a handful of days between matches. He called it a huge advantage for Mexico, plain and simple. But he also insisted his squad was ready for obstacles, that this tournament would keep throwing challenges at them, and they had already shown they could handle adversity. Even Mexican sporting royalty has weighed in. Sergio Perez, the Formula One driver and one of the most famous athletes Mexico has ever produced, publicly warned England not to underestimate what the altitude does to visiting athletes. When the locals are telling you how bad it is going to be, believe them. And while England's players are gasping through their first training session at elevation, Mexico's players will feel completely normal. Because this is their air. This is their home. Most of them grew up playing at this altitude. Their bodies adapted years ago. The co-hosts have played almost their entire tournaments at or near this elevation. What is a handicap for England is simply Tuesday for Mexico. Which brings us to the team England has to beat. Because this Mexico side is not just riding home advantage, they might be playing the best football in their history. For decades, Mexican fans have carried a very specific pain. Their team qualifies for every World Cup. Their team plays attractive football. Their team wins games. And then, at the same stage, at the same moment, it all collapses. Tournament after tournament, cycle after cycle, Mexico would reach the knockout rounds and then fall just short of the quarterfinals. From 1994 all the way through 2018, Mexico was eliminated in the round of 16 at 7 consecutive World Cups. 7. Against Bulgaria, against Germany, against the United States, against Argentina twice, against the Netherlands in the most agonizing way possible, against Brazil. Every 4 years, a new generation, a new hope, and the same heartbreak at the same hurdle. It became a national obsession, the dream of going further, the wound that never closed. Mexico has only ever reached the quarterfinals of a World Cup twice in their entire history. In 1970 and in 1986, both times on home soil, both times with the Azteca behind them. Now the World Cup is home again. And Mexico looks like a team that knows it. Under Javier Aguirre, the veteran manager in his third stint leading his country, Mexico has done something no Mexican team has ever done before. 4 matches at this World Cup. 4 wins. That is already a national record for victories at a single tournament, and they are only just getting started. The opening night against South Africa set the tone. A 2-0 win at the Azteca in front of a crowd that shook the concrete. Then a gritty 1-0 victory over South Korea. Then the statement performance, a 3-0 dismantling of Czechia that had the entire country believing. And in the round of 32, when the pressure of knockout football arrived, Mexico did not flinch. Ecuador came to the Azteca as a genuinely dangerous opponent, a team that had already eliminated Brazil's group stage momentum by beating them in New York. Mexico buried them inside half an hour. In the 21st minute, Julian Quinones picked the ball up, drove forward on a powerful solo run, and finished emphatically. 9 minutes later, the veteran striker Raúl Jiménez doubled the lead. 2-0. Game over. The Azteca roared, and Ecuador spent the next hour chasing shadows at 7,000 feet, learning exactly what England is about to learn. Here is the detail that should worry England most. It is not just that Mexico is winning, it is how they are winning. Solid at the back, ruthless in transition, comfortable letting opponents have the ball, and then punishing them the moment they overextend. At altitude, that style is devastating, because the visiting team wears itself out chasing the game while Mexico conserves energy and strikes. A win on Sunday would put Mexico into the quarterfinals for the first time in 40 years. The entire nation can feel it. This is the closest they have been to their footballing dreams since 1986. There is just one problem standing in their way, and his name is Harry Kane. England's tournament has been a strange, contradictory thing. On paper, they topped their group and reached the round of 16. In reality, they have swung between brilliance and something close to alarming. This is Thomas Tuchel's first World Cup in charge of England, and the German coach was hired for exactly one reason: to win it, not to reach a semifinal, not to give a good account, to end 60 years of waiting and bring the trophy home. The Football Association planned this campaign with obsessive detail. England arrived in the United States early and held a pre-tournament training camp in Florida, deliberately preparing the squad for the brutal heat and humidity of a summer World Cup in North America. They set up their base in Kansas City and have been flying out to each match from there, controlling recovery, controlling routine, controlling every variable they possibly could. Every variable except one. Nobody can train for the Azteca in Florida. It started so well. In their opening match in Dallas, England blew Croatia away 4-2. Harry Kane scored twice. Jude Bellingham was everywhere. Marcus Rashford got on the score sheet. For one night, England looked like genuine champions, fluid and ruthless and fast. The doubters went quiet. They did not stay quiet for long. 6 days later in Boston, England produced one of their most frustrating performances in recent memory. A goalless draw against Ghana in which the Three Lions created chance after chance and finished none of them. Bukayo Saka forced a save. Nico O'Reilly headed against the bar from 6 yards. Kane blazed the rebound over. And at the other end, England survived a genuine penalty scare when Ezri Konsa brought down Prince Kwabena Adu in the box and the officials waved play on. The British press called it a shocker, an old problem resurfacing. A team that dominates possession but cannot put teams away. The final group match against Panama restored some order. Bellingham broke the deadlock in the 62nd minute with a left-footed volley from a corner, and 5 minutes later, Kane headed home a historic goal. His 11th at World Cups, taking him past Gary Lineker as England's all-time leading World Cup scorer. 2-0, Group L winners, momentum restored. Then came the round of 32, and England very nearly threw the entire tournament away. DR Congo, playing in their first World Cup knockout match in more than half a century of trying, walked into Atlanta and punched England in the mouth. Brian Sepenga scored early, and suddenly England were losing to a team ranked far below them, with an entire nation back home watching through their fingers. For long stretches, England looked rattled, slow, vulnerable. The Leopards defended with their lives and threatened on the counter, and the minutes kept ticking away. England were saved by their captain. Kane equalized, and then, in the 86th minute, with elimination 4 minutes plus stoppage time away, he produced the winner. 2-1. England survived, but nobody was celebrating like champions afterwards. Even the pundits defending the performance admitted they were nervous about what comes next. And what comes next is the hardest away fixture in world football. So that is the present. But this match is not only about the present, because England and the Azteca have history. Dark, painful, unforgettable history. The two nations have only ever met once at a World Cup, and it went England's way. In 1966 at Wembley, England beat Mexico 2-0 in the group stage, powered by a thunderous long-range strike from Bobby Charlton, on their way to lifting the trophy for the only time in their history. That was 60 years ago. 60 years of hurt, as the song goes. This tournament is England's chance to finally end it. But when England has come to the Azteca, the story has been very different. The summer of 1986. England arrived at this stadium for the knockout rounds of the World Cup in Mexico. In the round of 16, things went beautifully. England beat Paraguay 3-0 on this pitch, with Gary Lineker scoring twice on his way to the Golden Boot. Confidence soared, and then came the quarter-final. Argentina, more than 100,000 people packed into the Azteca, and Diego Maradona. What happened in that match has been dissected for 4 decades. 6 minutes into the second half, Maradona rose with England goalkeeper Peter Shilton and punched the ball into the net with his fist. The officials missed it. The goal stood. Maradona would later say with a smile that it was scored a little with his head and a little with the hand of God. 4 minutes after that, he scored a second goal so magnificent, a slaloming run past half the England team from inside his own half, that it was later voted the goal of the century. England lost 2-1. The eventual champions sent them home, and the Azteca became the site of English football's most infamous wound. England has not played a World Cup match in this stadium since. 40 years, and now they return to the same ground, in the same round of the tournament where the pain always seems to find them, against a host nation desperate to add another chapter to the Azteca legend at England's expense. If you believe in ghosts, this is where they live. But football matches are not decided by ghosts. They are decided on the pitch. So let us get tactical, because this is where the game gets genuinely fascinating. Everything about England's identity under Thomas Tuchel is built on intensity. Win the ball high. Press aggressively. Suffocate opponents in their own half and turn mistakes into chances. It is a style that demands relentless running from every player on the pitch. And it is exactly the style that dies at altitude. A high press at 7,000 feet is a trap. Every sprint costs more. Every recovery takes longer. Analysts have pointed out that if England tries to press the way they normally press, they could be running on empty before the first hydration break. And a team running on empty at the Azteca, against a fresh Mexico side backed by 90,000 screaming fans, is a team that concedes goals. So Tuchel faces a brutal choice. Abandon the identity that got England here, or trust it and risk physical collapse. The smart money says England will adapt. Expect a slower, more deliberate England on Sunday. Long spells of patient possession, not to create chances necessarily, but to rest on the ball. Make Mexico do the running. Make Mexico do the chasing. Pick the moments to accelerate, 1 or 2 devastating bursts per half rather than 90 minutes of constant pressure. Kill the tempo, quiet the crowd, and drag the game into a chess match. There is precedent for this working. Teams have gone to altitude and won by mastering tempo, by refusing to be drawn into a track meet, by turning the match into a test of patience rather than a test of lungs. And England has the technical players to do it. Declan Rice screening and recycling. Bellingham dictating between the lines. Kane dropping deep to link play, conserving his energy for the 6 or 7 moments in the box that actually matter. And then there are the hydration breaks. The much-debated pauses in each half that this tournament has used throughout the summer heat. Tuchel has admitted he does not particularly love them, that he prefers football to flow. But he has also admitted openly that he uses them as weapons. Against DR Congo, England was trailing and rattled, and Tuchel used the break to reorganize, reset the structure, and change the momentum of the match. England came out of that pause a different team and won the game. At the Azteca, those breaks become even more valuable. They are free timeouts, moments to slow Mexico's momentum, to give oxygen-starved legs 60 seconds of mercy, to deliver tactical adjustments when the noise makes normal communication impossible. Mexico, meanwhile, knows exactly what they want this game to look like. Intensity. From the first whistle. Waves of pressure early while the crowd is at maximum volume, and England's lungs are still negotiating with the air. Width and speed on the flanks, where quick interchanges can isolate England's fullbacks and force the kind of desperate recovery sprints that drain visiting teams at elevation. Quinones running the channels, Jimenez occupying the center-backs, and behind it all, the knowledge that if the game is level after 70 minutes, the altitude becomes a 12th man because tired legs make mistakes and the Azteca devours mistakes. There is one more factor nobody is talking about enough: the schedule. The winner of this match plays Brazil or Norway in the quarterfinal in Atlanta on Tuesday. That is a 2-day turnaround after one of the most physically punishing fixtures imaginable. Whoever wins on Sunday will have to empty the tank knowing another monster is waiting almost immediately. For England, that adds another layer to squad management. Tuchel may need his bench more than at any point this tournament, and the players who finish this match may not be the players who start it. So, the question in the title: can England beat Mexico at the Azteca at 7,220 feet, with history and biology and 90,000 voices against them? Here is the honest answer: yes, they can. But almost everything has to go right. The case against England is overwhelming on paper. No team has ever beaten Mexico in a World Cup match at the Azteca. England cannot physically adapt to the altitude in the time available by their own manager's admission. Their form has been patchy, their finishing wasteful, their defense breachable, and their most recent performance saw them trailing a heavy underdog with 5 minutes to play. Mexico, meanwhile, has won every match, conceded nothing at home, and is riding a wave of national emotion that only comes around once every 40 years. But the case for England is real. Start with quality. Player for player, England's squad is deeper and more talented than Mexico's. And in knockout football, individual brilliance decides tight games. England has the tournament's most lethal weapon in Harry Kane, a striker in the form of his life, England's all-time World Cup scorer, a man who just dragged his team out of the fire with 2 goals when everything was falling apart. Kane does not need 90 minutes of oxygen. He needs 1 chance and 1 touch. Then there is Bellingham, who has scored, created, and dominated games at this tournament, and whose ability to carry the ball through midfield could be England's release valve when Mexico presses. There is the set-piece threat, which does not care about altitude because a corner is a corner at any elevation, and England has scored from dead balls repeatedly this summer. And there is the psychological angle that cuts both ways. Yes, the Azteca crowd is a weapon for Mexico, but it is also a pressure cooker for Mexico. 40 years of longing sits on the shoulders of every Mexican player on Sunday. If England weathers the early storm, if the game is still goalless after an hour, that stadium can turn from a fortress into a furnace of anxiety. Home crowds lift you when you are winning. They suffocate you when you are not. The blueprint for an England win is clear. Survive the first 20 minutes, when Mexico's intensity and the crowd's energy will be at their peak. Do not chase the game. Control possession, slow the rhythm, and force Mexico to expend energy pressing. Stay disciplined defensively and give away nothing cheap, because at the Azteca, 1 goal from Mexico might genuinely be enough. Use the hydration breaks ruthlessly. Keep Kane fresh for the moments that matter. And if the chance comes, take it, because unlike the Ghana match, unlike so many England performances, there may only be 2 or 3 real chances all night. If England does all of that, they can win. They have more talent. They have the best striker on the pitch. They have a manager who has won knockout football at the highest level and who has already shown at this tournament that he can change a losing game. But if they get dragged into Mexico's game, if they press high and burn out, if they concede early and have to chase at 7,000 feet in front of 90,000 people, this tournament ends for England on Sunday night. Simple as that. Who do you think will win? Drop your prediction and your score in the comments because this one has the entire football world divided.